Hello and welcome to Industry Spotlight with Creative First. Our guest today is Pritul Kumar, Joint Secretary Films, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and Managing Director, National Film Development Corporation. He comes from the 2000 batch of the Indian Railway Traffic Service, a prestigious Group A civil service cadre of the central government. Previously, he was the Executive Director, Computerization and Information Systems at the Railway Board. Pritul, welcome to this discussion.
Good morning.
What is the focus for the International Film Festival of India this year?
So the focus is to uh, retain the USP of the IFI for the content it showcases. So the international content and the Indian content, and you'll be happy to know that we've had the record number of submissions this year, two and a half times the submissions last year. So we've been very busy. The preview committee, the Indian Panorama jury, they have been all very busy in selecting the content, and we have almost finalized and curated the packages. That's what we are working on very intently, because the films which are celebrated in the festival becomes the heart and core of the festival. So, but along with it, we have also understood that we are sort of enhancing the scope of gala premieres, which was introduced last year. We're also doing a lot of curated master classes from different filming attributes, and also having in conversation with right people, and right discussions to be held, which are of of current interest to people in the film sector. There'll be a IFI Cinemela also organized in a big round in the festival mile, which will be for the larger engagement of people visiting IFI and those who cannot, because last time also we faced that the IFI registrations had to be closed down because of limitation in the numbers uh, on the very first day. So we have realized that there are a lot of people who still want to be a part of IFI or want to celebrate cinema. So this IFI Cinemela will be revolving around the films, around the art, culture, food, craft, and it's going to showcase our Indian cinema there. So not just the delegates, but also the tourists who throng in Goa in the month of November, they'll also be able to visit that. So these are two things, and then in the IFI per se, but then the important component of the business of cinema, which happens along with IFI, that's called the Film Bazaar, is going to be the 16th edition this year, in which we have specifically added a very important component of VFX and a tech pavilion, because we wanted to showcase what the modern technologies of visual effects can actually do to cinema. How can cinema be created with the help of them? So because there are about a lot of filmmakers or the film personalities who visit the Film Bazaar, they are part of it. We wanted to expose them to be able to explore what can be done more with utilizing VFX. So all around, it's gonna develop their filming acumen, and thus helping us to produce better and better content. In Film Bazaar this year also, we have sort of added documentary in a big way. So all the co-production market, the screenwriters lab. So there are about 300 curated content which we sort of showcase for sales and distribution across the world in Film Bazaar. So this will also include not just feature films, but this year documentaries will also form a part of it, because world over we've noticed that there has been uh, increasing exposure of documentaries to the audiences. Apart from that, we started a new component called Books to Box Office last year. But this time we are curating that, and we are sort of coming out with selected books, curated books, which can be transformed into a screenplay and thus to a film. So it'll be curated, and there'll be curated sessions on that. It'll be an interesting format to watch over this year.
Great. There is a sense that countries like Australia, New Zealand, and Thailand are leading on incentives and all round ease of doing business for offshore production. How is the ministry planning to make filming in India attractive for foreign productions while competing with those markets?
Incentives is a new thing for India. It was launched last year in April in 2022. And the limits were thought about for a good mid-sized film of about 10 crore, and the limits of incentive were 2.5 crores. That way, it was reasonable for a small or a medium budget film. But we understand that as we have given some incentives, and we understand that also that marquee films or bigger budget films also required to be promoted in India. For that, the government is working on considering to enhance the capping manifold, so that better films and bigger budget films can be had in India. And it certainly will sort of change it for the bigger filmmakers and invite them over to shoot in India. Not just shoot in India, the incentives are also being enlarged to for the post production and the visual effects which are being utilized by the filmmakers for their films. So it will also be very, very simplified, with minimum number of documents required for certificate for giving out the incentives. So we are working on that, and we can assure you that soon we'll be able to come out with new policies which will help the filmmakers come to India, not just for film shooting, but also for post production work and visual effects. And apart from that, in fact, we are also working with a lot of states, and a lot of states have also given encouraging incentives for the filmmakers. So, as we talk about enhancing the central government's incentives, there are states which coming up, like they all have their own incentives for filmmakers to go and shoot there or do the production work over there. Like states like UP have 2 crores limit of incentives. A state like Delhi has 3 crores. So I mean, a lot of states have their own incentives, which is over and above the incentives which will be given by the central government. So I'm sure that with the revised incentives, we'll definitely have more and more people looking towards India to come produce in India. One more thing I'd like to mention here, that we are also working on the FFO portal revamp. So FFO is the Film Facilitation Office, which is the single window clearance which we believe for the outside filmmakers. So it not just showcases the shooting locations in India, the production resources in India, but is also is the portal where all the transaction, the processing of the incentives is supposed to take place. So the contract is already in the verge of being awarded by the Invest India, and we are hopeful that within a year we'll be having a revamped portal where all the incentives will get processed online, and there'll be no need for any physical contact or physical submission of documents, which will go a long way in ease of doing business for people who are interacting in the film sector or doing production in India. So, and apart from that, we are also trying to integrate states by giving them sandboxing, and they can also adopt this online platform if they don't have a IT platform for online incentive clearances. So they'll be sort of be integrated also in a span of 1.5 years, which will provide actually a single window clearance for the entire filming requirements of anybody wanting to come from outside.
How has the amendment to the Cinematograph Act benefited the industry from a certification point of view?
So it has brought about several improvements, and let me just tell you that this amendment was brought after 40 years. So the last amendment had happened in 1983, and now with all the changes taking place in the way the cinemas are being made, in the way the cinemas being displayed, they are being exhibited. So it was the right time, and it was the time when we needed to have a change in the Cinematograph Act. And it helps people now to understand better with content descriptors telling them what is the age appropriateness of the content, so that parents can take a better decision onto it. And along with that, we have also taken away the 10-year period for a certification, and it has been made lifelong. So there's no requirement of recertification. There is also a prescription wherein somebody can go for a recertification so as to air the content on a broadcast, a TV. So because if the film is adult and it is required, some cuts are there. So now it can be, the censor board can be approached, and the edited film can be recertified for airing it on TV. Besides that, generally the Cinematograph Act has also been decriminalized. So there were a lot of provisions which required, even if in an adult film, if a non-adult person is admitted, it required a criminal intervention by the courts. So that has been decriminalized, but then penalty has been put so that it is more implementable and a bigger deterrent to people following the norms of certification.
Sir, the recently amended Cinematograph Act provides for measures to tackle piracy. Could you elaborate?
So this act recognizes piracy of two levels, which is in itself is a transformative thing. A, it recognizes that the piracy can happen in a cinema theater where the film is getting exhibited by way of camcording in the theaters. So it has, of course, very strict penalties for it, which is minimum punishment of 3 months, extending up to 3 years, or minimum penalty of 3 lakh rupees to up to 5% of the total gross production of the film. So that's one. But then we also realize that most of the piracy is in form of digital piracy today. The content is being uploaded on the intermediaries such as YouTube, Twitter, or I mean, the links are being shared there, and that is how the piracy is happening. So the laws have been sort of have been incorporated from the Copyright Act, from the IT Act, and have the provisions have been also made specifically for film piracy in the Cinematograph Act, so that the takedown of content can be there if it is being hosted on an intermediary. There can be penalties of the same level, which we said that even if a person tries to transact, a digital transaction is happening about the pirated content, that is also criminalized in the same way, and the punishments are the same level. So this will sort of go a long way in tackling piracy, and the kind of losses of more than the whole sector's turnover, I think, is being lost by was being lost by piracy. So that's going to come up. And in fact, I would also like to share that this amendment was brought around in August. And if you see that since August, we've been interacting with the producers associations and across the country, and they've been very, very, they felt very, very encouraging that people are turning more to cinema theaters. And who knows, it is probably because of the laws which are tackling for curbing the piracy. They are making the people go more to the theaters. So it's a long way to go, and then we'll be able to take out the subordinate legislation in the next 6 months. And I think a lot will be done to tackle the piracy in India.
What is MIB's top three priorities for the creative sector?
So as you know, today the content space is transforming, and the content is not just available in cinema theaters, it's not just available on TV, but the content is on demand at the over the internet, through the OTTs, through the intermediaries. So there is a choice available to the consumer as to what content to ingest. So we recognize this fact at the ministry level, and we understand that this has also helped the content to reach a global level, and a content produced anywhere in the country can almost have global footprints. It just requires to be of a certain quality so that it can go ahead and reach wider people. Second, we also recognize that there is, of course, globalization and collaboration happening, and wherein a lot of co-production is happening between countries and various co-producers around the world, because stories are merging, and we are hopeful that because India is already signatory to about 16 co-production agreements with the countries, we are hopeful that we'll be able to leverage that and have more co-productions, wherein not just the incentives will be available for the producers from both the countries. It will also be that they can also access the market of both these countries. They can release the content in both the countries as a national content. So these are the things which we realize, and apart from that, we also realize that it is the transformation is happening from taking the shot to creating the shot. And in this, India is extremely powerful in the sense that the AVGC sector, the animation, visual effects, and gaming and comic sector of India is been coming up very fast and growing very fast in India, because traditionally we have we have good arts, and other than that, the focus has been to use the computers for rendering the arts, which I think they have been able to use it properly. So, recognizing that, the government has set up a task force for AVGC sector so that we can promote and leverage our manpower for the AVGC sector, and enable our AVGC sector not just to create the content for India, but also to create a world-class content internationally. So these are the focus areas which the ministry is working on.
How does the ministry plan on contributing to the expansion of regional content and its reach in international markets?
So, as you know, that this year has been really good for the Indian content at the Oscars, and the stories which won Oscars were A, from Telugu, a song which was appreciated, from RRR, and then a story of Tamil Nadu. So the content is no more regional; it's Indian content, which we believe is uh, going to the international markets and getting appreciated. So, A, we are not just trying to help the filmmakers be at the Oscars, be able to pitch properly at the Oscars. But in the background, we are also helping the state with the central government and the state government. We are trying to give incentives to the filmmakers in the country to be able to produce content which is internationally of international standard.
What are the upcoming initiatives that the ministry is focusing on to promote India as the content hub of the world?
So, A, we have been working very seriously in the AVGC sector, which is sort of forms the baseline of now how the content, modern content, is getting created, not just in films, not just for the cinematic exhibitions, but also for OTTs. It also extends to gaming, the content creation, and also for comics. So we realize the power of that sector, and we sort of working out on a. We have already rolled out a model state policy for the state governments to adopt and take out the policies for the promotion of the AVGC sector in their state. The national policy is also being worked on. And then apart from that, we are also working on a national center of excellence and regional center of excellences to be created for replication and for a benchmark for this whole sector. So we realized that by 2030, we every year we would sort of require 2 lakh manpower to be sort of trained and skilled for this sector, because the potential of this sector is immense, and the government understands that this sector is like what IT sector was to India in the 90s. So this is going to be a sunrise sector wherein a lot of work is going to come to India, not just for content creation of films and OTTs as we discussed, but it also will be required for metaverse and these kind of utilities. So that's one part of it in content creation. The other thing which we are working on content creation is that we are helping filmmakers to attend more and more festivals to get exposed. So we are taking regional filmmakers from the Northeast. We took them to Cannes and get them exposed. So the filmmakers can get skilled. They can get exposed to the international content creation, and thus some synergies happen, and the content creation is improved.
So, thank you for this discussion, which has been truly inspiring, and we applaud the ministry's work in continuing to invest in the growth of the creative sector in India.
Thank you so much for this such insightful questions, and I'm happy that we were actually working on those things and we could respond to that. Thank you so much.
And we're really looking forward to the International Film Festival of India. All the best.
Thank you so much.